All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, here's Bad Sister, band from Germany. Had them on the show a while ago. Where Will You Go? Very apocalyptic album cover. I love it. Smoldering Ruins. Not that I want to see this happening. You can kind of see the band right there. Kind of a combination between, say, Whitesnake and Starship, and maybe some old Jefferson Airplane thrown in there. Because the singer, she's got a very distinctive voice. Kind of reminds me of older Grace Slick music. So there you have it, Bad Sister. Check it out. They're from Germany, and they're good. That's it. That's all I got. So Journey used to be kind of good, at least in the sense that they used to get along. They don't. At least the two guys who are battling it out for supremacy, Kane and Sean. It's a weird story that got very strange last week with the dressing room stuff. Yeah. Supposedly there was an assistant that was discovered in John's dressing room. And at that point, he decided to post security outside of his dressing room, and Neil Sean apparently before that had security outside his dressing room. I did a video explaining why Neil Sean is paranoid. Some people will say he's too paranoid. He's crazy paranoid. That could be true. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes to exonerate him, but once you get paranoid, it tends to snowball and get worse. But here's what I'm going to say, and this is why Team Sean, I think, with Greg Raleigh being at that one gig in Austin, and I don't believe he's going to be at any other gigs. That was the only one that was agreed to. Some people were talking about San Antonio, but that's, if it happened yet, I'm not sure if San Antonio has happened yet. But Greg, most likely, probably 99% chance he won't be in San Antonio. Now, again, anything can change and happen, but the fans really were into that. And you could tell the reaction. People were very happy to see Greg. Greg was a friendly face. He was somebody not embroiled in controversy. He just showed up, did his thing. Plus, we got a bonus track with Steve Lukather on stage, Black Magic Woman by Santana, and a lot of Journey fans were probably sitting in their seats going, okay, what's this music, right? Just funny in the age of casual fans. What's Santana? Yeah, Smooth, do you remember that one? Maybe. Maybe if they had gone up there and done Smooth, but they would have needed Rob Thomas to do that. So they had Greg Raleigh. Anyway, folks, I'm just lamenting the passage of time as it takes its toll on the collective memory of the music world. And as things get focus tested out and rock stations become focused on like the 90s now as their classic rock era, that's just, they won't play much from the 80s. And I don't even know if they're playing anything from the 70s on these classic rock stations. I guess they are. If you're Led Zeppelin or Ozzy Osbourne, there are certain bands that have a certain image that tends to fit what some of these radio stations are doing. And again, Dave, just go over to Spotify, man. Just make a playlist. Just put it together, and that's the way you're supposed to listen to music now. Or, buy Sirius XM or whatever and get some 80s station or some Deep Tracks station. And the Deep Tracks station, I've noticed that what Deep Tracks are now are all the songs that they focus tested out. They're really not all that deep. Anyway, this existential threat between Kane and Sean, that's not very deep either. It's a battle of paranoia, and it's also a battle of good versus I'm not pretending to be good. That's what this is. If you're a fan of Neil Sean, you're there to hear his guitar playing. He's not going to proselytize. He's not going to try to save your soul. He's not going to throw out televangelist platitudes. He's just going to get out there and do his thing. He's not going to tell long-winded stories that, I don't know, just sound cheesy and hokey. And he may say, hey, let's light up those lighters during lights, light this place up like a Christmas tree. He's going to be very succinct. Neil Sean, whether you like him or not, is still, I think, about playing guitar and the legacy of Journey and so forth. Now, this ends up being a battle between somebody who's claiming that they're above most of this stuff, that they're better, that the reason they're better is because of the choices that they've made. Their life has changed. Okay. Again, I don't want to talk theology here, but what I've noticed in Christianity, there are two kinds of theology, and this is important to this discussion. One type of theology is emotion-based, where you get all tingly and warm, you have an experience, and that supposedly makes you close to God. The other experience is I read my Bible, I learn things from the scripture, and that changes me, and it changes me for things. And I learn about the faith, and I learn more about Jesus, and that's how your life is changed, because you're being changed by God's word. And I'm not a big fan of the emotional type of Christianity, sort of everybody's on fire, that kind of thing. To me, it sounds and looks very manufactured, looks very fake. So you add that element to all of what's been going on. You've got this brand of Christianity over here, and then you've got just a guy who likes to spend money, maybe spends too much money on his wife. By the way, here's again another point. Did they put any kind of spending limits on credit cards? Did they say, hey, we're going to give you access to the card, but this is how much you can spend? Now, I think the limits were changed, and I don't think Neil was very happy about that. But if Neil didn't have access to this card over the years, then this might be like binge spending, where I didn't have access, so now I'm just going to go crazy. And that might be a problem. No question about it. All of this stuff is problematic, but I think the point I'm trying to make is most fans who look at this say, well, Neil Sean is not, an evangelist. He's a guitarist. And he's in a band. He's not in a Christian hybrid band. He's in Journey, okay? As much as people over the last few years have tried to make Journey into a spiritual band, singing those spiritual songs like Stone in Love and Line of Fire. And there are more. There are sort of heartland themes in Journey, but that doesn't necessarily mean, it's suited for the Jim Baker show, but here we are. And I think a lot of Christians and non-Christians look at this and go, okay, if I want to listen to Christian music, we got Casting Crowns, we got Mac Powell. I mean, these are some of my favorite artists in the Christian area. And I will go listen to those guys because those guys are doing authentic Christian music. If I want to hear, Don't Stop Believing and Who's Crying Now and these songs that have mostly relationship themes in them and have nothing to do with Jesus, they just don't, okay? And where your lane is there. Where your boundaries are. I'm not going to go and listen to Journey and then worship God. All right, that would be kind of blasphemous and ridiculous. And anybody who is doing that or trying to kind of fit the square peg in the round hole with what Journey has done over the years, it's not working, and most people aren't buying it. So people look at Neil Schon and they go, okay, so maybe he's got some problems and issues, but he's not lifting himself up as somebody that you should follow. He's not Pastor Neil Schon. He's not Father Neil Schon, right? If you're a Catholic, he's just Neil Schon. And I think, not that there's more forgiveness there, but people understand this is a rock band. This is a culture that most people don't understand. This is money that most people will never see in their lifetime. Does it make it right if he's overspending and doing some crazy things? No, it doesn't. I'm not apologizing for that. But here's what I've noticed is that, if there's corruption and you're in the religion business and there's corruption there, I mean, these guys can fall and make comebacks like the next week. Like, for instance, Jim Baker. If you've been around for a while, you know that guy, not only did he fall, but he went to prison, and he's back on television and people watch his program. Now, I believe in redemption and forgiveness and all this stuff, but there's kind of a slimy, sleazy feeling you get when you know that this guy, instead of being humble and maybe taking a different route, kind of rehabilitates himself and comes out essentially with the same material, kind of repackaged, with a new wife, and everything is great and fine. And, I guess it's a tough thing to criticize because people, again, I believe in redemption and forgiveness and second chances. And, you can fall down as many times and God will pick you up those many times. But I don't know if I would get into the same business. I would say, you know what? I did that. Maybe I should do something else in life. And I think that is why people, I think underneath all of this controversy, know that, number one, these two guys are going to split up because one guy has a philosophy on life and, he's political on top of it. The other guy says, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I want to party, have a good time, enjoy the music that I'm creating or playing, and promoting my wife a lot, talking about her because we're kind of a team. And whether that team is solid or not, people, I think, understand at some level that this is what we expect. We don't expect you to, become something that you're not. And on the other side of it, it seems a little contrived, a little forced, a little televangelisty. And I don't know if Journey fans appreciate that. I think a lot of Journey fans are probably Christians, but it's the same with the politics. Like, Donald Trump. Some people really like Donald Trump. In fact, I would say that some people like Donald Trump more than they like Jesus. They talk about Trump as if he is the second coming, and he's already been here, and now he's going to make supposedly his second coming, right? Because he's running for president again. And a lot of us are just tired of it because it looks like slimy televangelism. You see how I did that? And whether you like Neil Schon or not, he's not out there promoting any politicians. And maybe Neil just doesn't care or doesn't think it's worth it, or knows that you're going to lose half of your fans, if not more in some cases. So I think the battle here is between somebody who has an image to uphold and somebody who doesn't really have an image to uphold in this moral realm. And people tend to be more sympathetic to the guy who's not saying, hey, this is who I follow, and all of my tweets are pretty much about that. For rock fans, we'd like to hear the rock end of things. Tell us a story about a show you did, or tell us about songs that you've written in a way that doesn't link it to some evangelical moment. My dad gave me this song. Okay, great. How did you write it? Who was there when you wrote it? And I know some of those details are out there, but to me, as somebody who follows Journey or any rock band, I'm far more interested in the music end of it. And if you want to go and preach over here and play the music that you've composed for the preaching and for that portion of your life, that's what you should do. So anyway, I think people are slightly more sympathetic to the rock star who is a big spender, as opposed to the guy who says, I'm part of this upright community and I'm, following Jesus and so forth. And I'm going to tell you about it all the time. And by the way, people, beating others over the head with this stuff is a way to really repel and make people run away. I mean, you really have to show what you're made of, and you have to allow people a little bit of space to understand what you're telling them. And I'm not a big fan of this evangelical movement of today. Like I said, the on fire, crazy, falling down in the aisles, that stuff is very scary to me. I know it's legitimate and genuine for some people, but I look at it, and again, it's world wrestling entertainment. Sometimes I think some people have legitimate experiences, but I don't think it's a great tool if you're going to recruit people into a strong faith. I think people need to find that on their own with God's help, and God will do it. God will do it. I won't do it. God will do it. I will talk about it and God will get it done. So in any event, when it comes to Neil Schon, he is Neil Schon. I mean, this isn't a big surprise. It isn't. And if he's done stuff wrong, then he should probably stop doing that. He should stop doing stuff that's wrong. And same goes for the other side. Maybe they've been better when it comes to the Journey finances and so forth, but maybe there are some other things that are going on that are tied together with Journey. Someday this will all come out and it will be a blockbuster #1 selling book if we're all still here to read it. And I know there are probably some former members of Journey that could write books, maybe some current members of Journey. Steve Perry, I'm sure, could write a blockbuster #1 selling book if he wanted to. And I would tell him to do it, especially now with all the turmoil. Steve Perry's book goes to #1. Doesn't matter if he's got music out there. He could sell a ton of books. And that would be a book that I would order and buy the day it came out, or, get it whenever I could, just like I did with the Traces album. All right, folks, one more time. Sorry for the long-winded video here. Bad Sister, where will you go when this happens, right? They say they're not a political band, but they've noticed some crazy things happening, so they figure the imagery would be appropriate for the last 3 years of life on planet Earth, and I wholeheartedly agree with them. So good on Bad Sister. And for the rest of you, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I will see you soon.